Amsterdam, a movie called Amsterdam about characters who constantly talk about Amsterdam that is in fact not set in Amsterdam for the majority of the film. I mean, there's parts of this movie where characters just look straight at the lens and say the word Amsterdam, as if it's supposed to be this declarative thing that we're really on board for. But here's the thing. In fact, it's relegated mostly to montages and Christian Bale narration. Now, I know what you're thinking. You could call the movie Amsterdam without it having to be about Amsterdam. You're right. You can call a movie whatever you want, and it not having to be about that at all. But when your characters say the words Amsterdam into the lens, you should probably make the stuff in Amsterdam more interesting, you know? Oh, I'm gonna fall. Oh, here we go. Yep.
Because I don't want to start this off by screaming and yelling about how much I think that this is not good, let's talk about some positives. Let's get this off on the right foot and then scream and yell about how it's not good. David O. Russell managed to wrangle pretty much every actor in Hollywood into this movie, and the cast is good. The performances are generally good. That's my biggest takeaway from this movie, at least positives-wise, is that the leads, the people that have to be good, are good. There's a couple that we could talk about performance-wise that I think are not great, but generally this cast is very good. Christian Bale carries the movie. He's fantastic in this.
Guys like me, we have to turn to booze and morphine, and that can lead to addiction. Oh, that's fast.
Emmanuel Lubezki is the cinematographer from this. He did Tree of Life, of course. He's done tons of Oscar-winning films. Gravity, he won for, which is weird, because it's like an animated movie. But he also did The Revenant. He also did Birdman. He's a fantastic cinematographer, and this movie looks great. I mean, it's so visually rich and interesting. The editing style we can talk about more later. It gives it this kind of frenetic pace, which is really the biggest reason why this isn't immeasurably dull. The nonlinear editing of this completely saves the film, I would say. It's not something that's going to work for everybody, but for me, it's the only reason why I stuck around, I'll be honest, because it managed to keep me invested and interested in what was going on.
The heart of it are these three friends are forged in this great arena of war, and the tragedy in that make a pact that they will always look out for each other no matter what.
Unfortunately, John David Washington was a complete flatline for me. He is delivering his lines and his performance more stoically than Daniel Kaluuya did in Nope. And he's also very good in BlacKkKlansman. He's in fact fantastic in BlacKkKlansman. And this, he has no charisma to speak of. He is a wet sack of gravel laying on the ground partially open that just gets kind of blown away in the wind. I don't know what that means, but that's how it felt. But more times than not, I found the characters in this just incredibly dry and forgettable. And maybe it's just because it's all of these cameos, these huge actors coming in that are playing these weird characters, and it just doesn't quite line up for me. But it feels like David O. Russell is trying to make a Coen Brothers movie. The characters clearly are at the heart of Amsterdam. The story is an afterthought, and we can get into that more. But the characters clearly are what David O. Russell wanted to be at the center of this movie, and they're so boring. Again, maybe it's because the massive names in this and the weird characters they're portraying just doesn't align. I really don't know, but I found them also uninteresting. In a Coen Brothers movie, a big amount of the color in their films is their side characters and their perfect casting of those side characters. It's just these characters should be better. They should be more interesting. They should be something. And I've heard in interviews with Christian Bale that him and David O. Russell wanted to try and create characters that you wanted to hang out with in this. And I don't like any of these people. I wouldn't want to hang out with anyone.
A guy had to hit a lady with a brick one time.
What?
But let's talk about the ending, which I've been putting off until the end because it's a disaster. It ruins the movie for me, actually, which is kind of a theme of 2022, endings that ruin promising movies with a lot of potential. The ending of this turns out that Rami Malek is in this league with a couple other guys that are in the behind the scenes of America. They're like the top 1% of the 1%, these massive corporation leaders that are trying to basically take over the world, and they align themselves with Nazi Germany. Not making it up. So the big reveal at the end of the film is that the Nazis are behind pushing Taylor Swift under a car and killing her dad because her dad witnessed Mussolini run over a guy in his car. And then the cherry on top of all of this weirdness and uninteresting developments is that it completely over-explains everything. The last 40 minutes is an embarrassing, over-dramatic exposition dump. It's emotionally impotent and tries as hard as it possibly can to not be that. It's so stupid how much it is just spelling out what's happening. There's a laughable scene when Robert De Niro is delivering his big speech about not being a Nazi, and a guy shoots at him, and he's like, whoever's shooting at me, you're a coward. And I laughed out loud in the theater.
We formed a pact, and we swore to protect each other, no matter what.
And that kind of ties into the overall theme of the movie, or what they're trying to make as the theme, which is you need to figure out if you need people or if you choose people. It's a film about family. It's a film about love. And if you need somebody, then it's probably not true love. If you choose them, then it is. It's just frustrating to watch a movie with such a great cast, with a really talented cinematographer, with really talented people all over the place. The costumes are fantastic in this. The production design is fantastic in this. The period setting is fantastic in this. There is so much here that should make this for a more interesting watch. And yet, the story is such an afterthought that it completely ruins what could potentially be an interesting movie. Even if the characters weren't that great, if you had a better story with better stakes, with a better ending that wasn't completely oversaturating itself, then maybe this could have been something interesting and good. But it's just a movie with a terrible story that has an awful ending, and then characters that are just kind of like wallpaper. They're just around. I give it a 4. I probably sound a lot more negative on this movie than my rating reflects, but like I said, there's a lot of talent going on here. There's so much that works about this. The team behind the camera is amazing. Almost everything in this movie visually is pretty much flawless, in my opinion. It looks great. It sounds great. The period is really well done. The Christian Bale absolutely carries the movie. He's awesome. There's a lot of great performances. It really is just David O. Russell ruining his own movie, getting in his own way. It's crazy. It's crazy that his scripts are so bad.